Are you tired of spending your time and money chasing strategy after strategy only to discover what worked 10, 5, or even 2 years ago is not working now? Things shift fast in the online space, and if you're not keeping up, you're getting left behind. It's time for something different. Welcome to the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast, where every single episode will be jam-packed with proven, profitable strategies, behind-the-scenes secrets, and what's working now resources from industry experts and global influencers to help you scale your business, shorten your learning curve, and stand out in a crowded, noisy marketplace. And now, your host, award-winning marketing and media strategist, and international speaker, Patty Farmer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast. I'm looking forward to sharing another amazing industry expert with you today. And I am really excited because we are going to talk about a topic that I find very interesting and very timely in the marketplace right now. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Rosie Battista believes everyone has a unique gift to be shared with the world. She's determined to help you experience the freedom to share your gifts and allow your creativity to flow. And as a super creative who has spent her life creating physical products, Rosie fell in love with card decks. And after collecting them for years, she began making them for herself and others. And she has been nicknamed the Queen of Card Decks. She's launched the Card Deck Creation course, teaching clients and students to make their own card deck and using it to become queen of their domain, rule their niche, and reign in extra money. And Rosie describes herself as a lifelong entrepreneur, creative superpower, product creator, artist, healthy foodie, pug lover, and a fashionista. So I am excited. There's a lot in there we're going to deep dive into, and I'm excited to have Rosie here with us today. So thank you so much, Rosie, for being here with us today.
Hey, Patty, I'm thrilled to be here.
I am too, and I'm really excited. We've had some great conversations, you and I, together, and I just love this whole thing about the card deck. But before we dive into that, let's kind of start a little bit about, you really talked a lot about who you are and that lifelong entrepreneur and that creativity piece, and I think that's really, really important. But you and I both know that everybody always has a story that really gets you to where you're really serving and supporting the people you know you want to. You're living your life of purpose and passion. And I would love to hear your story. So could you share a little bit about your journey and your story and how you got to where you are right now?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is that, I even get a little pang when you said artist, which I put down on my bio. But way back, not even way back, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I wouldn't have called myself an artist. And that kind of stemmed from when I was a kid, when I have this memory of someone saying my drawing wasn't really that good. And so I never really put that title on myself because I always thought, oh, well, you have to be like a certain way and reach this level of whatever to call yourself an artist. But it never stopped me from wanting to create and from creating. So I finally let go of that strict rule that I had around what an artist should be and started to refer to myself as that. Because creativity is what really drives me, and being able to make stuff is what I've always done for many years.
Well, I think that's important, right? I think that artistry can be a lot of things. There's even artistry in mastering whatever it is that you do, right? There's some artistry in that. I do think that people do kind of sometimes think this is what it should be, but I really believe that when you can be creative and you have an idea, right? We all have ideas, but sometimes people don't really do anything with their ideas because they don't have any creativity or they don't think that they do, right?
Yeah.
What to do. And so what happens is, in my opinion, if you have a brilliant idea and it never leaves your living room, it's just an idea, right? And so being able to do that, and that's why I really love a lot of the things that you stand for and that you do. And I have to tell you, even though I've known you for a little while, and I'm excited that we're going to be speaking on stage together very, very soon, at beach camp. But what I really thought was interesting is I went and I checked out your website. I just love really kind of diving into the people that I invite to be on my show. Like, what is the value that they bring to the marketplace? And I have to tell you, you did not disappoint. So I'm really excited. But before we talk about card decks, which I really love, so if you're out there and you're thinking, what's a card deck and how can we do that? We're going to get there in just 1 second. So just be a little patient. So what I want to say is I have heard you say that it's important to have a strong self-love muscle and that's crucial to having a strong business. So tell us a little bit more about that, because I know you have some core principles of self-love that you could apply to any situation to make it better. And we all know that we're in a situation right now. So let's kind of talk about that. What are some of those core principles? And let's talk about a self-love muscle, because I really love that.
Yeah. So here's the things that happen when you don't have a strong self-love muscle. You get in the wrong relationships. You don't move forward with a business because you don't think you're good enough or have anything to offer. You have no boundaries around yourself. So you're really depleted because you're giving to everyone else and never taking time for yourself. Those are some of the things that happen when you don't have one. So the opposite happens when you strengthen it. So why it's really important is that when you have a strong self-love muscle, you're willing to put yourself out there. You're willing to say, you know what, I am an artist and I am going to put my stuff out there and not compare it to anyone else or have my own judgments around that I'm not good enough. That's why you need that muscle to be super strong. And I'm sure everyone can relate to an area where they play it a little small or they don't think they're good enough. And that's exactly why that's the thing we need to work on.
Oh, I really love that. And I think a lot of times because of that, people, just like children, act out, so to speak, right? And that's why I think it's super important as part of that self-love is setting boundaries, right? And not just in your personal life, but in business too, right? You know, a lot of times people don't really understand business etiquette, social media. People do a lot of things that, I want to say, would you do that in person? And stuff. And so I do think that as self-love, I always like to say self-love is not selfish, right? I think it's really important to make sure you flex that muscle whenever you need to, and have some boundaries. And I think that is okay, and it really is important to have those principles of self-love. So I really liked when I heard you say that, and I wanted to make sure that we touched on that before we dived really into the card deck. So I really like it. So let's kind of talk about that. So first of all, for the people out there who may not have ever seen one or really understand it, what is a card deck?
Yeah, so a card deck they can be anywhere from, because people always ask me, well, how many cards are in a deck? So, we all know what a set of playing cards looks like. And we know there's 52 in there. So that's like the go-to number that people go to. But so any number between 30 and 52, say cards. So it's just a set of, I call it your golden nuggets of digestible information. So when you have content that you give out to your audience, say you have a book or you have a podcast or a blogs or, that's a certain way you get your information to your client and your audience. A card deck is just another tool. But what I love about it is it gives them those bite-sized nuggets. So where a book you have to kind of you might say, well, I need time to sit and read my book. And you feel in your head, you have to set up a little time, put a little bit more time and effort into it because you don't want to just sit there and read a sentence. But with a card deck, you could have one powerful thing on each card that a person could really, in an overwhelmed society that we're in, could pull one and have something that actually makes a difference in their life for the moment.
Oh, I like that. I think that it's really important too. And I know when I first heard about the card deck, I was wondering that same question. And, I all of a sudden thought, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. What does she do? And, I started Googling and I got on Amazon, and then Kelly sent me her deck. She said, okay, let me send you my deck and stuff. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, I love it. I love the tin. I love what it looks like. It gave me a lot of ideas. I was super thankful. And of course it made me say, I have to have my card deck too. And I think it's really a great way to serve and support your tribe, whatever that is. So
yeah, and so a lot of people will think, oh, well, cards are woo-woo because they think of angel cards or tarot cards. But no, I am really here to say that any business can have a card deck, and it can be a really useful, fun, impactful product. So, for example, Kelly is a business coach, and she really gives kind of little prompts and challenges for you to stretch yourself. That's the name of her deck, Stretch Yourself. And she does at the bottom of some of her cards give you a little URL where you can go back to her website and get a deeper content if you were interested in that one card topic. And then I have other people that have made decks. Like I have one person, Lou Bertone, who made video prompts. So he's a video coach, and one of his client problems are that they don't know what to do when they show up on a Facebook Live. So he has these 52 prompts so that when you get in front of the camera, you have something to say, that you're not stressing over, oh my God, what am I going to say? And then you talk yourself out of showing up on the camera.
I actually really liked his, and I love the way they look too. It was actually ingenious. So I really love his too. And I really like Lou. He's part of my world, and I really like him. And Kelly as well, of course. And so those are some really good examples. But what are some of the ways, like, can you tell us a few ways that you could use a card deck to grow your business, right? Because that's what people want.
And
how
so
do I grow my business and make money, using these card decks? Because I know that when I asked Kelly, she actually says she doesn't sell hers. So, sometimes people may want to sell them, right? That is the thing, maybe not. But can you share with us just kind of a few ways that you could use a card deck to grow your business?
Yeah, so sure. So just using Kelly and Lou for an example, and I'll go on to more, but what Kelly does is she sends it out as gifts. And so actually sending out one as a gift, she actually got on someone's podcast because they said, oh, I love these. Will you come on my podcast? That wasn't her intention, but that's the kind of thing that can happen. And so that leads to, we already know what kind of growth that leads to when you just get yourself out there. And for Lou, we came up with ideas for him that he would do a video challenge, so that people had to go through the deck of cards. And so it could either be, a challenge and how quick you get it done, or that you finish this many. So he was working out the details of what that would look like. But again, engaging with his people to come to more of his stuff and to show up on video with like tagging him in the video. And again, that connection to your client and like activity around you, right? And then I had a few other people. One woman came right out the gate and ordered 100 decks, and she was going door to door to stores to put them in little boutiques. And that's what she had decided to do. Another one of
different ways. It seems like there's a lot of different ways that you can use it. I mean, I'm a speaker, so, I look at myself as a speaker, having a product at the back of the room, so to speak, having, even door prizes. I mean, I speak at a lot of things, and being able to give away something, and when people see it, and then they're like, oh, wow, I wish I'd have got those. Well, you can actually purchase them, right? Giving them as bonuses, for a program. I can even think of great ways to do them. Collaboration. One of the ways that I'm going to use mine personally, one of my ideas, I hadn't even shared this with you yet, so I'm sharing it with you live, is basically I'm thinking that whenever somebody's on the cover of my magazine, I'd really love to, as a thank you for that, I'd really love to be able to send that to them. So there's a lot of different ways that
absolutely
they can. So Rosie,
I have another little one for you if you're speaking. With this one, I absolutely love because I've experienced before and it's super powerful. So you take two designated decks, just put them all in a bag, dump the decks in a bag, shuffle them up, pass them around your audience up and down the aisles and let everyone pick one. Pick one card. And then people are like, oh my God, this card is like, I love what this card says, or this is my card. They get very attached to it. And it's like, forget about giving out a business card. They take that card home and they treasure it. They put it on their desk, they put it on their refrigerator, and it becomes like, oh, you're always in their head, in one way or another with that little tiny bit of way that you touch them with that message.
I love that.
Yeah.
Why do you think that having a physical product is so valuable to your business?
Well, I mean, we can go back and we can ask Amazon, who went online and got everyone out of business. And now when you go to New York City, there's actual brick and mortar Amazon stores. I'm pretty sure through the rest of the country too, there's some, which shocked me one day. I was walking in New York and I looked to my left and there's Amazon bookstore. And it's all set up like you would be shopping on Amazon online with like, the reviews and little comments and things. But they felt the need to come out, like people want to touch things. And we're so digitally like distracted and overwhelmed that when you get something in your hand, it's just a little bit more cozy and comfy. And even like MailChimp, who's an email, a newsletter through the email, they just came out with, we'll send postcards to your people too, through slow mail, so that they actually get something in the mail. So we're doing like a little bit of a reverse to the value being in something that you can actually hold in your hand and touch versus reading an ebook, or not that there's not value in them, but to have another touch point where the person actually has a deck of cards that's sitting by their computer, and they can, every day think of you as they shuffle them and just pull one a day, which is a very non-overwhelming task that they can do and they will do.
Oh, I love that. So what made you think of the idea in the first place? So like, how did you come across and say, you know what, I think this is what I want to do? And now you're the queen of card decks, right? So
I am the queen of card decks. Well, I just always love them for myself for the very reasons that I'm telling you, that I would always have a deck that I would pull, whether it was angel cards or some kind of motivational thing that I would just pull every day that kind of seemed to like pull my head in a better direction. And then about 10 years ago, when I was doing my book and my journal and my cookbook set, I literally downloaded these 40 steps. So I had Sleeping Naked After 40, and I made a video course of 40 days and a card deck of 40 cards. And the thing about the cards was that I had in my ear my clients telling me, you know what, Rosie, we need something. We wish we had you in our ear every day telling us like one little thing that we can do so we don't get so overwhelmed. And so I'm like, wow, a card deck is a great thing. So I created these self-love action steps where they could do one thing and then like journal about it or reflect on how it felt to do that one thing. And then about 2 years ago, I had a girlfriend that was sick. And she said to me the same thing. She was saying, you know what, Rosie, can you make me something that when I wake up in the morning and it just feels dark to me, that will pull me out of my state? So that's when I made my I am power connectors, that I call them, where there's little mantras and prayers on the back of like powerful words. And I made that for her for the mornings. Unfortunately, she never got to see them because she passed away, but they were for her. But again, they filled a need that someone was asking for, that small little thing that they can just grab onto, which is why the whole foundation for why I feel that this is such an important product too, from my experience of what people ask me for and how it's really helped them.
I love that. I have found that in my business, that every new thing I do pretty much came from somebody who was already an existing client or somebody who was in my community in some way, shape, or form that said, you know what would be great, Patty, is if you did this. I'll
Exactly.
be like, okay. Oh, and you know what, Patty, now that you've done that, what if you did this? And like, really, that's the whole thing, because what we do is we're solutionists, right? We solve people's problems. So if they have a problem and they say, oh, Patty, I would really love it if you could help us solve that, like, you should be listening, right? So not out there trying to sell something that nobody even may be interested in. I always say sell it first and then create it. So I think that's important. But I really want to talk about Sleeping Naked After 40. So I have to tell you, I mean, you had me at that, right? Sleeping naked after 40.
I get a lot of people with that.
Raise your hand if you sleep naked and you're over 40, right? So I love that. So tell us a little bit about that concept, what that came about. And I know if you go to Amazon and put that in there and look you up, there's all kinds of Sleeping Naked After 40 stuff. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I will say that when I was, I'll tell you the short little story, because I'm sure there are people that can relate, because we all go through ups and downs in our life. But at 49 and a half, I pretty much had almost it felt like everything that could happen to you was happening at the same time. It's like, okay, I was like in this deep pit of like my second divorce, my last kid leaving for college, losing my house. My business that I was doing was really in the tank. So financially, I was a disaster. I mean, I had an eating disorder, so that was in like full swing. So everything was just a complete mess. So I found myself not having any way out of it. I really did not know what to do or anything. So really pretty much ended up on my hands and knees. And I remember that moment of saying, okay, it was like almost like a surrender. I'm like, I have no idea what to do now. Like, I'm just lost. And it was like a little rope got handed down to me and said, enter a bodybuilding competition. I'm like, okay. And so that is what I did. Now, from the time that thought came to me, the time I did it, a couple things went on, which was like me trying to talk myself out of it. But not only me talking myself out of it, but anyone I told tried to talk me out of it as well. At one point, though, like I couldn't really stop thinking about it. And at one point I said to my adult son at the time, and he's like, Mom, that's all you talk about. So either do it or stop talking about it. So I'm like, that was like a slap in the face to me. Like, yeah, you're right. Like either do it or shut up. Right. So I signed up. I had a date. So I had an end date, the beginning game, and then I just went for it. Showed up on that stage for my 50th birthday in a little tiny bling velvet bikini and pretty much standing there naked in front of like an audience of people judging my body. So, and it really was literally on that stage that it was like a lightning bolt to me that said, everything you've ever needed has already been inside you. And I knew I just had to share that with everyone. So that's when I just went ahead with my Sleeping Naked After 40, wrote the book, wrote the cookbook, wrote the journal, wrote the cards.
I love that. Really think about it. Your mess is usually your message, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there you can find your message. Your message, your message.
Yeah.
Sleeping Naked After 40, I love that. But here's the fact that you wrote a journal, made card decks, have a cookbook. I mean, have a book. I mean, that's like a whole thing. And
yeah.
We're going to tell you in a little bit, like how you can get that, right? And stuff though. But really, honestly, I think that was that card deck one of the first ones you did, or?
That was my first card deck. And the thing about my card decks, this is why I know that I'm in my perfect space right now, because it marries all of the things. It marries all of my coaching, my spiritual part, my self-love, things. It marries all of that together where I can help a person get their genius out of them. And because most of the things I've ever written and that I write have always been like, my boyfriend calls me a short order cook, because I say, to the point, get things done. Like I don't do nonsense. Like it's just like straight to the point. So card decks for me are easy. Like I kind of see things in the form of a card deck. Like that's how my brain operates. So it's so easy for me to help a person get it out of them, because it's like I have the visual of it right in my head. It's hard to explain.
I really like that, because I know that for me, from being having a podcast, but also, the magazine, I really find that for me, when I think of everything as marketing, media, and money. So I think of everything in like, how does that fit? And so I think in sound bites too. So for you, it's a card. For me, it's sound bites. But the reality really is. And that's why really when we had that conversation, thinking about taking those sound bites and making them into cards seems really, really easy to me. But I want to actually go back and think about what you said when you're sharing that story about the race, right? Either do it or don't do it and stuff. And I think that one of the things that we have talked about is really, the BS that we actually tell ourselves, right? Because the reality really honestly is that a lot of times we get in our own way, right? We are the thing. I mean, I tell my team, one of the things I would tell them is like, listen, I have a lot of things on my plate. You have your parts, right? Where the disconnect is going to be is probably going to be me. So I have no problem with you guys sending me an email and saying, okay, Patty, here's where our projects are, and here's what I'm still waiting from you, because I probably already checked it off and moved on. Right. And so now I have everybody all on, Friday, everybody sends me like kind of this update of what they're all waiting for me. And Monday's the day that I work on my own business. So it really works for me. But you got to kind of figure it out. And what is the thing that you're doing that is making you stand in your way? So that's kind of the question I really want to ask you is like, what was the obstacle or the blind spot or roadblock that literally you had to overcome?
I think this is the perfect opportunity for me to share my 3 core principles that you can use for anything, because basically I use them all the time in anything. Like, so just for example, for this card deck thing. So I have been coaching for, since 2006. And then really for my 60th birthday, which is coming on now, I really literally changed my business to helping people with card decks. But it took me a long time, because I was like, well, if I don't want to give up that, and then I can't do both, and where do I want to put my energy? But the truth is that I'm able to take all of my coaching skills and all of that and put it into the card decks in the support of people that are stuck. So the 3 core principles that really are so useful, those came to me right after, or actually I used them to get to the stage. And then after, I'm like, oh my God, it can be used for anything. So can I share those?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and I'll tell you how it worked for the bodybuilding competition, and then you'll be able to see how it could work for something you're even dealing with right now, and we could talk about that. So number 1 was lose the fake stuff and get real. So for the bodybuilding competition, that really applied a lot to, say, food and things like that I had to really just, lose anything that wasn't on my plan and, get real with my food. But it really means for everything else is lose all those fake things that you tell yourself about yourself and get real, right? Get real to who you truly are and what's possible for you and what you can do. And stop with the, all the fake stories that you create in your head, right? That stop you. So that is number 1. Number 2 would be become less interested in why you can't. So during the competition, halfway through, I remember feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe I have that much more to go. And I have to show up at the gym 3 times a day and count my blueberries and count my food to every ounce and everything that I'm eating. I don't think I can go on and do this. And then I said, you know what? Be less interested in why you can't do it, right? Don't focus on why you can't do it and focus on why you want to do it, right? Be less interested in why you can't. So it's we're always could come up with a reason to talk ourselves out. It might be oh, you're not that good of an artist. Or you might say, you know what? The podcast is too hard. I got to find a guest. Whatever it is. Everything you could find a reason why not to do it. So it's become less interested in why you can't. So that's number 2. And then the final one was to fall in love with the idea. So at that certain point too, where I was maybe talking myself out of it, or I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end, I'm like, you know what, Rosie Battista, you better fall in love with this idea that you're going to stand on stage. And that really changed everything for me, because I'm like, oh, I get to be a bodybuilder. So I get to be on stage. I get to do that. And fall in love with that whole idea that that's what I get to do. So you can take that with anything, fall in love, Patty, with the fact that you get to interview different people.
Oh, I do.
Fun it is, right?
Every single thing. For me, it's really why? Why you do it. Now, the one thing that I add for me, of course, for what I do is really, when you're talking about your business, obviously not in the example that you gave, but for me, a lot of times when I'm working with my clients, is how are you going to monetize that? Because people will come and say, oh, I have this idea and that idea and this idea. They want to do this and they want to do that. They have no way. The first question is going to be, is this something you're doing for philanthropy because it feeds your soul and you want to do it? Or is this something you want to make money? Because we have to kind of think about how are we going to monetize it? That's why people hire me, right? Of course. But with that said, I love that the number one thing that these 3 core principles seem to me to be saying is how to get past your own BS, right? How to get past that BS and get out of your own way to get you to where you want to be. So whether that's in life or business, it really appears that applying those core principles will really help you to do that. Because a lot of times that is what we do, right?
It's just a mindset shift, right? It's a perception correction is what I like to call it.
Oh, I love
but
that.
I'm thinking for you probably get a lot of people saying, because I hear this all the time, well, I don't like to sell. I can't sell. I think it's sleazy to sell. Well, you know what? If you fall in love with the idea that you're sharing your product, maybe that's a different way, right? And I'm sure you have a million ways that you explain to people about selling and help them fall in love with selling and making money, actually, right?
Absolutely. As a speaker, when I first became a speaker almost 9 years ago, I did struggle with that. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to, trying to be selling to people. Really, honestly, I want to serve people, right? Really, that has always been my core mission, is to really to serve and support and not to sell. So my motto has always been serve, not sell. But once I actually realized that when you are serving someone, right, and you're teaching them something that they can apply in their business, you're actually doing them a disservice if you actually don't give them the opportunity for what the next step would be. Otherwise, they're going to leave and say, oh, wow, that was really great. What do I do now? right? So really that was just a shift that had to happen in my mind. And that really was part of serving, right? I mean, I'm not this hardcore, whatever. I want to serve and support, and I believe in lead with contribution, and compensation will follow, right? But I think it is just really, really important. But it is a shift in your mind.
I think about times when I'm watching someone speak or something, I'm like, oh my God, when they present themselves and they're so awesome, they don't have to say one salesy thing. I'm like, wait, how can I get you? Exactly. I want more of you. You want it. So if you just show up with your good stuff, I mean, people want it. They want you to tell them about how else they can connect with you.
I absolutely agree. So what would your advice be to somebody who may be thinking, you know what? I'm thinking a card deck might be right for me. Maybe this is something that I could apply to my business. Maybe I want to, really think about how that might work for me. What would your advice be to somebody that's like an entrepreneur or small business owner and may want to think about doing it? Now, I know that you have a course. I'm not really talking about that. And I actually know that in a minute, you're actually going to give them a gift, which is really, really great too.
Yep.
But really, let's talk about advice. Like, what is an advice? Like, I know that I'll give an example. So I know that when I was talking to you about it, your advice to me was, okay, Patty, do you already have marketing, media, and money tips? And I said, absolutely. And you're like, okay, so how many cards do you want to have? Like, I came up with that number. And so my first step was really writing down 50 marketing, media, money tips that I had, right? So that's what that was going to be. So that was really where I started, really, with that. Now, there's other things I'm asking myself right now, too. And how do I want it to be? And, do I want it to, like, there's all those questions, right? But really, the very first step for me was, what did I want those cards to be? What was the message? How did I want to use them? Like, that was a great conversation I had with you. But really, what I really want, what's just advice that you would give someone so that they're asking themselves some questions?
So I would say, well, first of all, I would say a couple things. It's not complicated because you already have this content. This is just repurposing your already good information. And it's just taking like your best information, the things that your people say, oh my God, this is something Patty always says, or I love these things from Patty, or the things that they're always asking you so you just have to go back to think about what are they always saying and what are you always talking about that, draws the people to you. It's just taking that same content and repurposing it in a different way. Because we think sometimes, well, I have to create new stuff. And new stuff is great. But we think that, because we said it one time, everyone remembers what we said one time. But that's because we're living it. But they don't remember what we said one time. They need to hear it over and over to form a new habit, to form a new pattern for themselves. So just to remember that simple is actually really good. When it comes to a card deck, you already have the stuff, so you don't have to go creating new things. You just have to look through what you have and say, oh, look at this old stuff that I forgot that was so wonderful that I kind of hid away.
I love that. So Rosie, how can people connect with you?
So you can come to my website, rosiebattista.com, and there you will find a mix of things. You can find self-love tools and my self-love utensils and spiritual essentials. And you can find a whole bunch of information on card deck success stories. Because what I do with my people is when they come out and they have their deck, I like to interview them and share their decks and what they're going to do with them and how it was for them to go through the creative process. I like to share that. So that's all there and you can view all that.
Awesome. And is there a social media platform you spend a lot of time on that would be a great one for them to connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me on Facebook at Rosie Battista. That's pretty much where I do most of my hanging out.
Awesome.
And so, yes, please connect with me there. I love to connect with people there, and you can private message me and I answer back.
Awesome. Yep. So Rosie, I know that you came bearing gifts and I really love that. So tell us a little bit about your gift.
So my gift is a great way to inspire you about what's possible for you. So a lot of people will say, well, I have a different business, Rosie. So I'm not really sure what kind of card deck could work for me, like, because your brain isn't like thinking in card deck mode yet. So I created a short 5-minute video where I went shopping for you. So I went to Amazon and I just perused all the different kinds of decks that were out there and kind of just brainstormed a little bit about each one and what you could use, like what different card decks could be used for different businesses. And everyone that watches it says to me, oh, that just gave me a great idea. Oh, that inspired me to think about this. So all you need to do is like switch your mindset into a little bit of a different direction. And that's what this free video does.
I love that. And for those that are listening, we will have a link to that gift in the show notes, as well as to her free self-love utensils as well. So we will have both of those. And we may even have a link to the Sleeping Naked After 40. So we will have that one as well too. So now we come to the portion of the show that I like to call #OpenMic. This is my version of social karaoke. And this is when I turn the mic over to the guest. And really, I want to ask you one simple question, which is, what is the number one marketing, media, or money strategy that you would like to share with the audience?
Okay, so my number one strategy is show up and share. So you don't want to be the best kept secret. And really even deeper than that is because I really feel passionately that everyone has a unique inner gift and that this gift was given to you with the intention that you share it with the world. That we cannot go through life not sharing our gift or pretending we don't have it or being afraid of it, because you'll never be happy and satisfied and you'll always be searching. So your job, like your only job, is to give your gifts. And holding back really serves no one. So when you're thinking about, oh, but I don't know if it's good enough, I want you to remember that if Oprah did that when she got rejected for her first job and fired, then we wouldn't have Oprah. If Walt Disney, when he got rejected many times, we would not have Mickey Mouse. So think about those people that just kept going and going. Still, Sylvester Stallone, we wouldn't have Rocky if he just said, you know what, I'm just like a homeless person. So again, it's like, keep on going. When you have something that you know that you have to give, just do not give up on it and show up and share it. And then all just kind of, the universe really comes to meet you with that and lays out the red carpet for you to share what it gave you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rosie. I really appreciate you for being here on the show today and sharing your gifts with us. So thank you so much for being here.
It was fun. Great.
I love to hear that. And thank you to the audience for listening to the Marketing, Media, Money podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And make sure to join us on Facebook in the Marketing, Media, Money magazine, podcast, and events Facebook group. We would love to introduce you to our global influencers and to our industry experts there. So thank you so much for being here with us today. Looking forward to talking with you on the next episode. Make it a phenomenal day. If it's not phenomenal, remember, you always have the power to change it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Marketing, Media, and Money podcast. To shorten your learning curve even more, make sure to grab your free copy of the Marketing, Media, and Money magazine at www.marketingmediamoney.com. I promise your business will thank you.